The Great Demon Lord and the Children of Olympus by Sea of Mountains. Chapter 5. They strange can always get stranger. It was Travis and Connor. Travis and Connor Stoll. The Stoll twins. The exact ones he knew. This can't be a coincidence anymore, can it? Will thought. He looked at the twins with a face of astonishment. They're your friends, right? Satoru asked while pointing to the twins who still hadn't noticed them. Will meekly nodded, still thinking about how this could be possible. Satoru saw the look on Will's face and sobbed. If you're wondering why you and people you know are here, I have a couple of guesses, but I will explain once we get you three to the city where it's safer. Where it's safer? Will wondered. He was already surprised that there had been no monsters on his walk with Satoru. How could a city be even safer? Hey, you two, this is your friend here, right? Rimuru called out to the Stoll brothers while pointing to Will. The two boys looked up as soon as they heard the voice. They looked surprisingly similar, twins most likely. They seem like hyper kids. Rimuru noted. After an analysis, I found that all three kids have both ADHD and dyslexia though. Some more obvious than others. That explains it, thanks, Seal. Looks like there will be more troublesome children at Tempest. Yo, Will? You're here too, huh? One of the boys waved as he ran over with the second one following, almost crashing into Rimuru. Well, not almost. Rimuru was so short in his current form that they did crash into him. Not that it hurts anyway. Oh, who's the kid? Said the brother who didn't fall over as the first brother prompted got up and dusted himself off. Will sobbed. Even in another world, these two were troublesome. Travis got up just as his brother asked Will who the kid he tripped over was. Seriously, why would there be a kid with Will, in the middle of a forest to add to? Ah, this is Satoru, apparently she is going to lead us to a nearby village, Will exclaimed as he introduced the nodding kid. Satoru sobbed, as if said, it is a city. Please refer to it as that. I spent a lot of time developing it, you know. Satoru trailed off as she saw the incredulous looks on the faces of the three. Ah, that the lords of the land spent a lot of time developing, she corrected. Still, all three started wondering more about this child, although Will more than the twins. Well, that aside, let's start walking if we want to get there. Satoru spun on her heels and started walking towards where the sun was now slowly touching the tops of the trees. Will and the twins followed her from a distance behind. Hey, Will, have you let your guard down so much that you are now following this clearly suspicious kid in the middle of the forest? Connor asked after another couple of moments of walking. Well, this is a foreign forest. Do you think we have a chance of surviving here with no knowledge of the plants or animals? Will responded. The half-bloods had resorted to talking in ancient Greek to prevent Satoru from listening to their conversation. Don't both of you think that it would be weird for a developed city or suburb area to be in such a wild forested place like this? Connor commented on his thoughts. Will and Travis both nodded. Will was relieved that even though the twins were usually high on something, but when it came to monsters or quests the two were reasonably serious. Will suddenly remembered. Hey, you two. Introduce yourselves and please don't pull a twin prank or something. Satoru has told us her name and has never put up their guard. At least not in front of me so far. Just then Satoru suddenly put up her guard, but through years of experience that the three had they could tell that her sudden change in mood was directed at something else. Only for a second at that. Strange, the three thought. Thump! The sound of something falling over echoed through the forest. Alright, so what in the Hades was that? Connor was the first one to remark. Are we still gonna tell her our names? We'll investigate later, but I've already told her mine and I think she probably already figured out your names by now. Will shot the brothers a glare, just do it. The two sighed and nodded. Yo, Satoru. Travis tried to start some small talk, so, in case you didn't catch our names earlier, I am Travis Stoll and that's my brother, Connor Stoll. We're twins if you haven't noticed already. Satoru turned to look at Travis properly to study his face. She smiled, thanks. Travis whistled. Holy shit, bro, you see her face? Connor aggressively nodded. They both had the same thought right now. Holy Zeus, she's so pretty. Will could only internally facepalm watching them. Really? I spent 10 years building up Tempest only for it to be called a village? Master, it's probably because it would be very suspicious if there were skyscrapers in the middle of a forest. Which happens to be exactly what Tempest is. True, true. Rimuru grabbed their attention and told them roughly where we would be heading. Will seems to have very good stamina. He supposed the same could be said for the twins too. It was a relatively peaceful walk until one of the twins spoke up in a strange language that was definitely not English. Yo, Seal. What's the language they're speaking in? It is a language from your world. Really? It doesn't sound like any of the ones I know. Rimuru wondered what kind of language these teens would be able to speak so fluently other than English. Rimuru had assumed, earlier, that they were from the US or Canada as they had an American accent. But now, he had slight doubts. It should be normal that modern citizens like what you used to be would not know about ancient Greek. Ah, that's why. Do you want me to translate it for you? Nope. Although, do listen in on their conversation to make sure they aren't plotting anything of any kind. Alright. So much for the smooth walk Rimuru was talking about earlier. An A+ grade Tempest snake had appeared 35 meters or so away. Monsters of that caliber were rare in the wild ever since Tempest was founded, but they still appeared from time to time regardless of what people thought. Phew. I want to keep their guards down around me, so Rimuru ultimately decided on unleashing a bit of his aura to ward the snake off. Unfortunately, that didn't work. This Tempest snake was now way too prideful because he was some A+ ranked. Regrettably, for the Tempest snake, being too prideful in a world where the weak follow the strong is a bad thing. With space control and universal perception, said snake was now dead. The entire process easily completed within a couple of seconds with, though, acceleration. Let's continue. Rimuru nodded. As the sun slowly made its way into the sea of trees, the tops of the executives' buildings could be seen. The group could just only be seen if one were to sit on the top of the tallest building. Will and the twins had started to notice the irregularities as they drew closer to the village. No scratch that. They now realized Satoru was correct when she said it was a city. A skyscape somewhat similar to that of New York's could be seen. Actually, correction, it was even more amazing than that of New York's, but that was only the first of many surprises the demigod trio were going to have as the night came. It was dark, but Will swore he saw Satoru smirk while listening to the twins' woes and gasps. Will sighed internally again, but even he could not hold back his own gasps after a few more moments of walking. What kind of dream is Morpheus giving me? Will muttered silently as he set his eyes upon the scene that laid out in front of him. Satoru was now openly smirking. So, what do you guys think of the village now? Satoru asked with a face of victory. What in the world is this? Satoru, please explain. Will slowly whispered when he managed to get the ability to speak back. The view that spread out in front of their eyes was none other than that of the capital's shopping district. The buildings were built in a variety of different styles. Some were like those of a traditional Japanese home, while others had more modern and simplistic furnishings and decorations. They were all arranged in a neat fashion, with the city being separated into 4 different sections, so it was very easy for newcomers to navigate. Even though it was nearing the middle of the night, the shopping district of Rimuru City was by no means empty or vacant. In fact, it was the complete opposite. The streetlights, decorated like traditional lanterns, glowed brightly and pushed away the darkness of the night. The sounds of joyous laughter and animated talking could be heard non-stop, along with the shouts of the various vendors advertising their products. The streets were downright bustling, but not to the point where it was jam-packed, of course. As they walked through the streets, some of the children excitedly pointed at the group but was hurried away by their parents or guardian, who almost always shot a quick smile before leaving. Were the smiles and other glacés directed at them? Will wondered as he suddenly got suspicious of Satoru after seeing the inhabitants of the city. Wow! Let's go explore, Connor suddenly shouted. He and his brother started to run off in a direction that emitted a nice smell. Will was already prepared for it though and caught the two by their arms. Guys, this is a foreign place where we don't understand the language or anything at all, really. Let's continue following Satoru, alright? Will chided the two. The twins looked at him with pleading eyes but soon realized it was hopeless. Still, as lighthearted as Will sounded, deep inside he was already getting tense. Hey, I'll tell you all about this city, the capital of the demon country Tempest, after you guys get some food. You 3 are hungry, no? Satoru-san smiled. Truly the smile of an angel. The 3 thought, having not noticed any of the orcs, goblins, lycanthropes and so on that wandered the streets around them, There would be no need for food if I could see that smile every day. Unfortunately, their stomachs did not seem to agree as a loud rumbling sound appeared. Will turned a bit red while the twins stood there wondering what kinds of food such a developed place would have. Fufu, Satoru laughed. I shall treat you guys to the best dinner you will ever have. Then she motioned for the three to follow her. While salivating and thinking of what kind of food they should stuff themselves with, the Stoll brothers were suddenly brought back to reality by a quick slap on the cheek from Will. Hey you two, come back to reality for a second, Will said with much more seriousness in his voice than before. The twins had quickly understood that something was wrong as Will spoke in ancient Greek rather than English. Yeah? What's up? Asked Travis, a bit disappointed that he wasn't able to fully enjoy the scenery. Are you two okay? We could possibly be walking right into a trap or a monster lair. Did you not hear what Satoru just said? Will practically screamed. He did get some weird looks from the passers-by and that was exactly what made him panic inside even more. Yeah, she said welcome to the capital of the country Tempest, replied Connor, still not aware of what Will was trying to give hints about. Will gave up. Their ADHD might have been worse than Will originally thought. Correction, she said Demon Country Tempest. Will then pointed towards a nearby scantily dressed pedestrian who briefly stared at them before being ushered away by an older-looking person. There's a harpy for God's sake. How can you guys not notice this? Connor and Travis looked in the direction that Will was pointing towards. There indeed was a harpy, albeit her ash-colored wings sprouted from her back rather than her arms. The twins immediately sobered up from whatever they were drunk on, the ambience most likely, and cautiously put their hands onto their swords. The three of them nodded. It was starting to get too suspicious for them. The twins who normally acted like nothing could happen now got serious and watched Will for his next actions. Even as Will started to nock his arrow, the surrounding citizens of the city only stopped and stared. The twins also tensed their grip on the swords. Will let go. The arrow shot towards Satoru-san faster than the human eye could perceive, but it never touched Satoru. Still, years of battle experience with each other made their attacks flow smoothly, even if the first one failed. So to follow up, Connor and Travis each unsheathed their swords and placed them at Satoru's neck. Some cries echoed in the crowd. Will and the Stoll brothers could make out that they were constantly saying the same word, but it didn't matter. What mattered now was that they had to be on their guards in front of what could be an enemy attack. Who are you really? Will walked up behind Satoru, who had yet to flinch. Are you a spirit? Or a monster in disguise? How about let's see if arrows of celestial bronze can kill you? Will shot again, but it never hit its target, even from only a couple of centimeters away. Ha! Satoru sighed. I did tell you not to get surprised, didn't I? What in the world are you? Will knocked another arrow, someone from a different world knowing ancient Greek. Please don't shoot any more arrows, these look pretty precious, don't you think? Satoru said as he held up the two celestial bronze-tipped arrows Will had shot earlier. She continued. It seems like harpies are malicious creatures in your world. Interesting. Well, at any rate, Tempest seems to have an alliance with the nation where the harpies come from. Some even live here. Connor and Travis were constantly careful, even as Satoru spoke in an upbeat tone. No monster can be so relaxed with celestial bronze blades at their neck. Connor thought. Travis nodded. They came upon the same response. Satoru might not even be a monster. Nevertheless, the two did not ease up until all of their suspicions were cleared. Relax, take a look again. Satoru pointed to a nearby shop. Look, there are humans getting along quite well with the demi-humans. The three of them turned their heads to where Satoru pointed, ever so cautious of a sneak attack, but what Satoru had said was true. The humans and demi-humans were laughing and enjoying each other's company just fine. In fact, I'll tell you a little secret here, Satoru started whispering, even though no one would understand him. You see, this country was actually built by a demon lord whose name is Rimuru Tempest. Satoru noticed that all three of the other worlders had tensed up at the words, demon lord, but continued anyway. This demon lord, he had a dream, and that dream was to build a country where there would be no discrimination and no conflicts at all. A smirk slowly crept onto the girl's face, which made Will raise his guard yet again. At the time, his dream was considered a pipe dream. Although there were many hardships, Satoru spread her arms out as if showcasing the city scenery around them. As you can see here, his dream came true. Demon Lord Rimuru did succeed in creating a utopia for both humans and sentient monsters of all kinds. To the Stoll brothers' genuine surprise, Satoru lightly touched their blades and gently pushed them away with her fingers. So for now, how about you enjoy the country built by, what some call, the most undemon lord like Demon Lord. Satoru gave the three another smile while raising her arms above her head to show them the lantern-lit night skyline of Rimuru City. We'll slowly lower his bow. What you've said does seem to match with what we've seen, but you still have not told us who or what you are. You clearly do not speak like a person of your age. Me? Satoru returned to speaking in English. I'm not a bad slime. Slurp, she pointed to herself while winking. Connor was the first one to crack a smile, though closely followed by Travis. Their smiles soon turned into laughter, which then transformed into cackling. Will had stood there watching the twins start crying from laughing too much. Needless to say, Will was confused. What are you two laughing about? Will asked after the brothers recovered. I don't think we can trust Satoru-san yet. Dude, what are you talking about? Connor asked with a shocked face. Yeah, that was such an obvious reference. Did you not get it? Travis followed. I say, we should definitely trust a fellow Dragon Quest player. They now stood at the sides of Satoru while patting her shoulders. Yup, just like these two said. Also, I'm willing to bet that you are pretty hungry right now. The restaurants aren't gonna stay open forever, you know. She grinned as she walked up to Will and grabbed him by the wrist. I also happen to be pretty hungry, so let's hurry up, okay? Will thought it over once more but soon cleared out all of his thoughts and let Satoru-san drag him to wherever they were going.